The West Virginia Mountaineers do come up short in their 23-17 loss to the TCU Horned Frogs on homecoming night and on coal rush night in Morgantown. But boy, to me, if there's ever been a time to feel good after a loss or what they call a moral victory, it's this one. Because this looked like a completely different football team than what we've seen the previous 4 weeks. And I'm very, very proud of how this team played tonight. They showed up. They played hard. They played with guts. They flew around, had some fun out there tonight. Looked like a much different football team than what we've seen in previous weeks. What is up, and welcome to this live edition of Couz's Corner, the post-game reaction to the TCU West Virginia game. Again, TCU defeats the Mountaineers 23-17 in Morgantown. But I think West Virginia might have found their quarterback. Assuming Scotty Fox is able to go next week, I think he's the guy you stay with moving forward. I like his confidence. I like his command of the offense. And I like the way he's able to get Cam Vaughn more involved in the game. As you see, Cam Vaughn tonight was much more involved, and I've got the wrong stats along the bottom. But nonetheless, they both played well tonight, and I was really happy with the way the offense was able to move the ball. Again, they only scored 17 points. But, man, when you look at the way this team played overall as an entire team, they played much better game of complementary football than they have played the previous weeks. And I'm happy about that. I know coaches don't want to hear about moral victories. I'm sure players don't want to talk about moral victories. But as a fan, to me, this is a moral victory. This team played pretty well tonight. Considering the team, I mean, this is I don't want to say it's the best team they've played because they played BYU and Utah, but it was definitely probably at least the third best team they've played this year, and they still had a chance to win the football game. I mean, if they're able to recover that fumble, they're near the end, who knows what happens? Maybe they make a game-winning drive there. But unfortunately, the bad luck that seems to be haunting this football team continued to haunt them tonight in various ways. The fumble, obviously not being able to recover that. Scotty Fox getting banged up. How about the toughness of that young man, being able to hang in there after being banged up, apparently hurting his knee, and still being able to hang in there and finish that football game with a knee brace on. Wasn't able to do much in the run game after that, the quarterback run game. How about Cam Vaughn? 6 catches, 85 yards. They were finally able to get him involved in the second half. They've got to figure out a way to do that moving forward. I don't know if you noticed this, but Cam Vaughn seemed to be beating his man on almost every single snap. If Scotty Fox was just able to get a little bit more air on that one pass there late in the game, that might have been a touchdown. Had he not led him too far out of bounds on that one in the third quarter, you may have a touchdown. Just they're right there, man. They're right there to becoming a really, really good offense. The defense played well tonight. They tackled better. Would have liked to have seen him do a better job late in the game shutting down that run because they allowed TCU to just take so much time off the clock. You'd like to see them improve that. But they covered better downfield than they had in previous weeks. They tackled better. They got pressure on the quarterback, got a sack or two on the night, something they hadn't done in 4 weeks. Devin Grant played a heck of a football game tonight. Hats off to that young man. Just Fred Perry was flying around like always on the defensive side. Chase Wilson. Just various guys. We saw Curtis Jones make plays. Just all kinds of guys making plays. Chambers, Couz, you name it. Sylvester Rennan make a play. Just about everybody on the defense made a play at some point in the game. So, again, this is a positive for me. When you have a team that's struggling the way this team is in the middle of a rebuild, you've got to take the small victories. And I think tonight we saw some small victories. I want to go ahead and jump into the chat early tonight to see who all we got. James Lane, we got WVU Fan 13 here. He says, our play calling in the first half was atrocious. First down play calling has been horrible all season, putting you in a spot where it's second and third and long. I actually thought the play calling was okay tonight. I'm going to disagree with you there. I thought they did a good job, rolling Scotty out a lot, cutting the field in half for him so he didn't have to go through too many reads, didn't have to think too much, didn't give him too many options. I actually didn't mind it. You might be referring to the run plays. this is a running football team. And I actually thought Dior Hubbard did a decent job tonight. You know, he only had 32 yards, left some out there. There were a few plays he'd like to have back, but I actually didn't have an issue with the play calling tonight, to be honest with you. Also says, WVU Fan 13 also says, you go for it on 4th down in the first quarter, deep in your own territory, but put to 4th and short midfield. Punt. Yeah, I thought they should have kicked the field goal. There was one 4th down. They went for it. I think it was in the first half. They were in field goal range. I think it was on the TCU 20. You kick a field goal right there. I mean, I'm not sure why they didn't take the points there. It probably doesn't make a difference in the game, but you never know with momentum, the way momentum can swing in games. Maybe you get the momentum there. But unfortunately, they didn't. They got stopped. That's just the way it happens. Once Fox got comfortable, he looked pretty good. We actually threw down field. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, he did. I liked it. I like that for sure. And I like the fact that they were taking a lot more deep shots in the second half. I did like the play calling in the second half better. I will admit that. But I didn't think the play calling in the first half was atrocious as you did. It was okay, but it wasn't, maybe not great. But I think, if a few more running lanes open up or the backs hit the hole a little better a few times, some of those plays may do better than they did. Can't catch a break. You're absolutely right. We got Ron in the house, Leo Cole in the house, Eric Ferguson, Chris Kasdorf. The defense does hit hard. Sergeant D in the house, very pleasantly surprised at our performance today. Patrick and Kerry Cottrell says build more high-power receivers around Scotty. Jeremiah Bostic in the house. Shane V in the house, another VIP member, says, I think Fox needs glasses. He seems to have a Ricky Vaughn thing going on with his passes just a bit outside. Yeah, a couple times tonight he did, but I tell you what, I thought the young man played a heck of a football game, considering it was only his second start. The 28, I don't even have his stats up there right. Holy cow. 28 of 41, I believe is what he was. Let me see. Yep, 28 of 41. Let me fix that real quick, y'all. I got my banner wrong there scrolling along the bottom. Fox was 28 of 41 for 301 yards. There we go. I think I got it now. Anyway, let's get back to the chat room here. Let me see. Bear No Beef Dip in the house. Jacob Yoho says, I've seen a lot of good things. Maybe this is a start of getting better. We just need to take baby steps to get better. Absolutely. OB Zen says, moral victory. We looked improved in the second half, but play calling is still pretty atrocious. Chris D says, this honestly felt like a win. Just glad to see some competitive football. Absolutely, Chris. I totally agree with you. This is one of the first times in my life I was actually happy to lose a football. I wouldn't say happy to lose, but I'm not mad about the loss, if that makes sense. Especially considering the injuries this team's dealing with. And, the ball didn't bounce their way tonight. The onside kick that they were so close to getting back, the forced fumble that they were so close to getting at the end, just the balls did not bounce their way tonight, unfortunately. Seymour says WVU has been a run-first team all season. Our tendency changed tonight, caught TCU slightly off guard. Unless they replicate this performance, I will not buy in. Okay, that's fine. Chris D says Fox had a 300-yard performance. Absolutely. Tosh Miller in the house says glad to see we passed more tonight. I would like to, they didn't have a lot of success in the run game. I'll be anxious to see the PFF grades come out tomorrow to see if the blocking was much better. I thought the blocking looked better tonight myself. They did look like they started a couple new offensive linemen tonight. Kima Macaniole apparently still started, but they started Haslam on the other side, and it looked like they had another starter at right tackle as well. I'm having a hard time remembering names right at this moment, but I think you guys noticed it too. Agbo. I think they started Agbo tonight at right tackle. At least it seemed to. Use the NL dollars to beef up this mean, hard-hitting defense, says Chris Kasdorf. Yeah, I do think they need to definitely use some of it to beef up the defense, but I'd also like to see them get more beef up front and on the offensive line. They need to build that offensive line up, and they need to get another receiver to go along with Cam Vaughn. And you got to keep Cam Vaughn because there's going to be a lot of teams coming after that young man in the offseason. Probably already are. Got Ferris Fathala in the house. Listen, this is the first game besides Pitt where we looked like an actual football team. I just wish we played with more urgency. Despite the loss, it was an actual decent game. Yes, it was. Daniel Sargent in the house. Would have been a 39-yard field goal. 4th and 2 from the 22. Yeah, why not kick it? Is that surely the goodness isn't out of his range. I know he's made kicks within that range. So go for it. James Lane in the house. I forgot. Don't know if I mentioned you earlier, James. I appreciate you chiming in. Why don't you kick a field goal and make it a one-score game? Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's just one call. And again, it probably wouldn't have changed the outcome anyway. Let's go ahead and take a look at some team stats here. I'll pull them up. We'll look at them together. This is from ESPN. Let me enlarge it here. All right. You got the team stats here. We've got Josh Hoover, obviously for TCU, had a decent night. 24 for 39, 247 yards, a touchdown. Scotty Fox, 28-41, 301 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Good night for him. Rushing is where West Virginia really did not do good tonight. Only 41 yards on the ground. Dior Hubbard had 32 on 14 carries. Clay Ash had 15 on 4 carries. Scotty Fox had -4, but that includes sacks. But, yeah, could not get anything going on the ground tonight. So TCU was making West Virginia throw the football. They were stopping the run, saying, okay, you've got to throw the ball. And they were giving West Virginia some yards. TCU was playing, looked to me like they were playing more of a bend but don't break defense. West Virginia was taking what the defense gave them, and they did that, I felt like. But also hats off to TCU for the game plan they had tonight too. TCU rushing the ball, they had 96 yards on the ground, but the problem is late in the game when TCU wanted to run the ball, and even though West Virginia knew they were going to run the ball, they were still able to run it. They were just able to wear out that defensive front for West Virginia and get yards on the ground. Trent Battle, 19 carries, 89 yards, and a touchdown. Kavorian Barnes, 8 carries, 27 yards for TCU. On the receiving side, Eric McAllister for TCU had himself another night. 9 catches, 124 yards, and a touchdown. Major Everhart, a big night for him. We remember that name well, don't we, Mountaineer fans? 4 catches, 45 yards. And then West Virginia, Cam Vaughn, 6 catches, 85 yards. Jeff Weimer, 3 catches, 57 yards, and that awesome touchdown there in the 4th quarter that really made it a game. And Gerard Bowie, Dior Hubbard, Grayson Barnes all had 3 catches. Rodney Gallagher, 5 catches, but only for 22 yards. I really would like to see Rodney do a better job of making people miss when he gets the ball in the open field. I love the young man. He's really sure-handed. He catches the football. But I would, not only him, but there are several guys on this team, man. If they just need to do a better job of making plays individually. Sometimes it just comes down to one-on-one battles. West Virginia is not winning enough of those. Now, they won a few more tonight. They did win a few. We saw Dior Hubbard catch that one ball on the sideline, and broke a tackle to get a first down. It is happening some, but it needs to happen more. West Virginia's skill position players have to win more one-on-one battles in games. You have to help out your quarterback, right? You can't leave it all up to him. When you do get an opportunity to make a play, go make it. Go make it. Cam Vaughn did that several times tonight. Cam Vaughn continues to be the highlight, in my opinion, of this team. They just got to figure out ways to get him the ball more often, and hopefully they can continue to do that these last 4 games of the season. Now let's go ahead and that was the box score. Let's go ahead and take a look at some team stats. Obviously, TCU on the left, West Virginia on the right. First downs, 19 apiece. Third down efficiency, TCU was only 6 of 16 on third down. West Virginia, 3 of 14, so worse, actually. Fourth down efficiency, TCU 1 of 2, West Virginia 2 of 7. So West Virginia did not do well offensively on end of drive downs. Did not do well on third down, did not do well on fourth down. Total yards, 343 for TCU, 342 for the Mountaineers. Passing, 247 for TCU, 301 for the Mountaineers. I went over the passing statistics already. There were only 2 quarterbacks that played. Yards per pass, it was 6.3 for TCU, 7.3 for West Virginia. The 41 yards rushing is a huge problem. You've got to be able to run the ball better. You don't need to be, again, they were kind of, usually West Virginia has been one-dimensional running the ball. Tonight it was one-dimensional passing the ball, but to be honest, it was kind of, I was actually kind of glad to see they could pass the ball, because now the next team they play will have to, you put that on film for the next team you play, so now they're going to have to be a little bit more honest and protect a little bit against the pass. So maybe that'll open up some running lanes for you. That's one hope we have to have anyway. Penalties. West Virginia only committed 4 penalties tonight, so they were more disciplined. 7 for 60 for TCU, not as disciplined. And then there were no turnovers by either team. This is a game where West Virginia really needed to force a turnover to get that extra possession to try to get the ball in the end zone again. And then, of course, time of possession favored TCU 34-03 to 25-57. But again, the way West Virginia plays with tempo, it's rare that they're going to win the time of possession battle, to be honest. But just overall, West Virginia showed fight. They played hard. They looked like they had a hard edge again tonight. They got the hard edge back in their game, and that's what we wanted to see as fans. I think we can be proud of that fact that they did get the hard edge back, and hopefully they can build on this. Again, I know they're not going to like the idea of moral victories. Coaches and players don't, but you have to, as fans, man, we've got to hope they can build on this performance. And maybe they go out and steal in a game or two later in the year, because they do have a couple winnable games coming up, especially Colorado. I think Colorado's winnable. I even think Houston's winnable. Houston's a good football team, but they have not played a super tough schedule so far. And even though Houston's defense is really good, I think they're beatable. WVU Fan 13, thank you so much for the generous super chat, my friend. He says, all in all, completely different team this evening. I definitely see a few worth keeping for next season. Offensive line looked better. I actually have Fox some time to go through all of his reads. I guess I'm keeping my Colorado tickets. Let's go. Absolutely, brother. And again, thank you for the donation. That deserves an applause. Thank you very much. And thank you for being a paid VIP member as well, and for all of your support. Appalachia Africa Twin in the house. Another paid VIP member says, Daniel Gigax, I was listening to Tony give the post-game stats a few minutes ago. Is only reason I know. Let's see what Daniel had to say. All right. Y'all got a great conversation going, I see in the chat. Over 55,000 in the crowd. That's awesome. Watching it on television, the crowd looked absolutely phenomenal. It looked like a great atmosphere. I am proud of the crowd that showed up tonight to support the Mountaineers. I was sort of talking some smack on social media about our fans, which, that includes myself. I felt like Virginia Tech had a great crowd last night for their 2-5 team, but West Virginia tonight showed up, showed out. Mountaineer Nation did, I thought. It was a cold night, a lot of excuses to stay home, and Mountaineer Nation as a whole did not. I thought it was a pretty good turnout. Atmosphere looked awesome on TV. The LED lights looked good. The coal rush, I thought, went over well, at least from a television perspective. Earth Ether's in the house. Says we made some improvement. I'm okay with it. Seriously. We hardly break tackles. I agree, because, yeah, sometimes, man, you just got to – when you're playing this level of football, it's very rare that you're going to just have open field in front of you. You have to break tackles. You got to make guys miss. That is the one thing that was glaring as I watched this game, and I think it's something we've all already known. Even Coach Rod has talked about it. West Virginia is not as fast as they need to be to win in the Big 12. They've got to get more speed. And that, I thought that was glaring tonight when TCU players got in the open field and got out in space. West Virginia struggled to catch up with them. Now, fortunately, for the most part, they did a better job with their tackling angles and things like that, which allowed them to catch the guys for the most part. They did give up a couple of explosives, but not near as many as they had in previous games. But again, the speed difference was glaring to me when watching these two teams. West Virginia played hard with grit, with toughness, like I mentioned earlier, with the hard edge, but the speed was something that I thought was just a glaring difference between these two teams. But it is something that West Virginia will have a chance to fix in the offseason through the transfer portal. And hopefully they will. Hopefully they will. John Kelly joins the chat. Thank you. What's up, John? He says, lock down that defense in the second half. Chris says, we all love Couz's Corner, home of the drunk hillbilly. I ain't drunk, Chris. I'm not drunk, man. I promise you. Kelsey Whitlack says, Luke, you must not have seen the fourth quarter crowd. What I saw was a half-full stadium and some sections bare. Interesting. I don't know, man. Yeah, the towel. I forgot to fix my towel before the show. I'm having a hard time getting that thing to stay up, man. That shelving is not wood, so I can't put a nail in it. And I keep forgetting to go buy my double-sided strips. Luke Armacost in the house, another VIP member, says, shocked at the crowd. It looked full, and it seemed electric on TV. And Chris says it looked – I will say some people probably started heading for the exits because of the weather. And once they saw that the game was pretty much at hand, if I had to guess, maybe trying to beat the traffic. You know, it was – a lot of people probably had to make long drives home at night, so I sort of get it. What's up, John Kelly says, hey, Couz, great effort all around by the fans and the players, and Coach Rod, love the effort. WVU is screwed next year as well if supposedly a big donor is out. He's not out, Curtis. Voice of Morgantown misquoted what Pat McAfee said. If you go listen to the video, he actually said he had a specific donor had promised a certain amount of money by a certain date. And they said they were not able to give the full amount at the last minute. So it's not that they totally backed out. They just didn't give the amount they promised to give, which from talking to a few people since that came out today behind the scenes, apparently that's not that uncommon. But it's really not something you want out talked about publicly. I don't think Pat, to be honest with you, I don't think McAfee should have said that out loud in that setting. It doesn't help West Virginia's case when you're out trying to get players, right? When you're out trying to recruit and get guys from the portal and you hear oh man, you got donors that are, and why Voice of Morgantown misquoted it, I have no idea. I don't think they did it on purpose, but they did not say they were out. They just said they were not giving as much as they had originally promised, which is still not a good thing. But I don't think the donor, whoever it was, is completely out. Some say it was Ken Kendrick. Mike Ossie from WV Sports Now says it is not Ken Kendrick. So we'll see. Daniel Gigax, thank you for the super chat, my man. He says, with Houston, Colorado, who is beatable, ASU and TCU left, will we have a conference win? Duct tape will keep your flag up. Yeah, it will, but it would look awful ugly, wouldn't it, Daniel? See that duct tape across that blue towel. Man, I still don't know that West Virginia wins a game, but let's wait and see. Let's wait and see how they play against Houston next week, because I think Colorado, if they're going to get a win, Colorado's the ones they're going to get, and because they obviously play much better at home, and I think there'll be a decent crowd now for that game, probably. So, let's see if they can continue. If they can play competitive again against Houston next week on the road, I will feel much better for the Colorado game. So I do think they can get a win, but it would likely have to be that one, if that makes sense. And I owe you, Daniel, an applause for the super chat. Thank you, Daniel Giggins. DRP4 in the house with a $9.99 donation says a flicker of life will take it. Can they build on it? That's going to be the $1 million question, DRP4. Can they build on tonight's performance? We have to hope, fingers crossed, that Scotty Fox's injury, which he obviously had, is not something that keeps him out for the next game, where they're going to be down now to Max Brown, who obviously is either still banged up or is just not very good, because he has only played 2 plays the entire season. When West Virginia's down to their, fourth quarterback? See, Nico, Jalen, they're down to their 4th quarterback. And he hasn't been one of them. So he played a couple snaps in mop-up duty in one game and hasn't seen the field since. So, I'm starting to wonder if he's really even able or good enough to play at this point, because he's not been showing up on the availability report as hurt. So He apparently has been able to play. But thank you, DRP Ford, for the donation. Misplaced Hillbilly in the house says, why don't Rich Rod kick for the points on the field goal? I agree. Could have possibly had a tie game. Kelsey Whitlock says, Scotty Fox is the best QB this team's got. Khalil Wilkins don't have these types of explosive plays, in my opinion. After tonight, Kelsey, I would agree. Now, I don't think Scotty's got the same explosiveness in the run game. But, man, as far as throwing the football down the field, Scotty Fox is the guy, at least between those two. I still think Nico is probably still the best thrower of the group. But in all fairness, I felt like the O-line tonight blocked better for Scotty than what Nico was getting. But I'll take Scotty. Going forward, I think Scotty's your guy. John Kelly says you got to love that defense intensity tonight with those big hits. I did like it. I loved it. As Mr. Chris likes to say, they rattled some face masks tonight. Isn't that right, Mr. Chris Kasdorf? The D is where it's at, says Chris Kasdorf. That's right. Luke Omercall says, I have zero confidence in either the kicker of the fourth down or the fourth down offense. I am fine with going for it. Fair enough. He did make his one kick tonight, though, and he did miss any extra points. So he's not been a terrible. He was 5 for 7 coming into the game. He's now 6 for 8. It's not terrible. Not great, but not terrible, right? Seymour says, and I'm not even saying your last name, Seymour, for obvious reasons, man. You're trying to set us up. He says, Vaughn becomes a 90-plus overall on college football, 26 every time. Dustin Hammond, the onside kick was so close. That big hit was crazy. We need more dynamic playmakers in space. Absolutely, man. I wish we could see the backup running back. Holy cow, I'm having a hard time remembering names tonight. Man alive, I'm losing my mind. Sincere Bowers. I would love to see Sincere Bowers get out in space. So far, he just has not had that opportunity yet. I'd like to see him get out. I'd like to see what he can do in space. If we can, and again, Gallagher just hasn't made enough plays in space, in my opinion. I'm not sure who else you got. Jaheim's on the shelf. Ty Edwards is on the shelf. Not sure who else we got. Gerard Bowie, I think, has the ability to make plays in space, but they've just had a hard time getting guys in space. Those guys who can make plays in space they've not been able to get them in space enough, in my opinion. But they do need more speed. They do need more dynamic playmakers on the roster. Again, they have a chance to address that in the offseason. Daniel Gigak says we got screwed on the onside kick. Maybe. I don't know. It did look like TCU came up with it initially, but West Virginia took it away. Josh Leggett says, I'm glad they showed fight tonight. I'm just in traffic leaving the game, 50-yard line, 4 rows back. Awesome. I would like to hear your thoughts, Josh, on the crowd. Did it seem like a pretty full stadium? I think they announced 55,000 as the attendance. But someone in the chat, Kelsey, I think it was, said it looked weak on TV and late in the game. Did fans start leaving early? What were your thoughts on the crowd? Since you were there, I'd love to get your thoughts. Dustin Hammond says, thoughts on the O-line, giving Scotty some time tonight. Run game was awful. Yeah, they still didn't get enough push in the run game, but I did see some creases. Clay Ash even got a first down run, stuck his foot up in there. I like that. I felt like they opened more holes tonight than they had in previous weeks. But again, I'm looking forward to seeing the PFF grades come out tomorrow to see what's really that much better with the new O-lineman in the game. James Green, thank you, sir, for the $9.99 super chat. Says RR Rich Rod will get them better. I totally agree with you. They're getting better. I like the way he called the plays for Scotty tonight more so than I did last week. He was cutting the field in half, rolling them out more, taking what the defense was giving him, more dink-dunk stuff early, and then finally opened up some downfield stuff later. I felt like that's what it was leading to. I know some people didn't like the play calling tonight. I didn't have much of an issue with it, to be honest. I thought it was okay. You had to try to run the ball early once they saw that wouldn't work. Then you had to go to the air, and that's what they did. But and James Green, thank you, sir, for the donation. You get an applause. Much appreciated, sir. Jason Harrison says, who did we replace on O-line? They replaced Tykeus Crawford, I think, and I believe Walter Youngbear, if I'm not mistaken. I'm looking forward to seeing the snap counts. It was an unbelievable catch by Bowie. You're right. Kelsey says, Jared Watt Glimmer, this is the first time I've seen improvement, and it took 7 games. Before tonight, you could argue everything got worse. I can live with the team losing, but fighting and getting better. The last 5 games have not been that at all. But I'm going to focus on this one, Kelsey. I really am. Maybe that UCF game was a wake-up call for them, and maybe they tonight come out, like Coach Rod had said and Zach Alley had said in their press conference, they just needed to play loose and have some fun. And they're playing a game, right? And tonight it looked like they were out there running around, having fun, playing a game again. And they've got to get back to that, and they've got to stay with that mindset the rest of the year. If they can do that, I feel like they can give themselves a much better shot to win games. Rudy McGraw, thank you for the $1.99 super chat. Says, I think we found our quarterback. I agree too. Now I don't want to jump. We said the same thing about Nico after the Pitt game, and then he struggled against Kansas. Of course, we found out later he was hurt. Not sure how much that affected it. So we probably shouldn't get too overly excited. But when I think about the fact the young man's a true freshman, I really get excited because the sky is the limit for this young man, in my opinion. Did you see the way the ball comes out of his hand? Like he throws a rope, man. I mean, the announcers talked about it. Pete Sousa on the announce crew, who, by the way, is part of the Rogue Sports Network family. He has his own show called the Pete Sousa Show, and he's also an announcer for ESPN. But back to my point, the ball comes out of his hand with such velocity. I mean, he was making throws tonight that I don't know that any other quarterback on that roster could make in tight windows. He's willing to take a few chances, which could come back to bite him at some point, but he can make some really good throws. He's accurate with the football, in my opinion, more so than most of the other guys on the roster. So the fact he's a true freshman, the fact he throws such an accurate ball, let's just hope he's healthy for the next game, because he did get beat up tonight in his knee, had to finish the game with a knee brace on, which kind of makes me concerned. But Rudy, thank you, sir, for the super chat. You get your applause. Beepity Bop in the house. Thank you. Chris Kasdorf says our defense busts heads. They get the least amount of offensive support, and we're golden. Josh Leggett says, I saw what we have potential for, and I now believe we will win at least one more game this year. Crowd was fantastic, honestly. Loud even after the lackluster first half. Kelsey says, hey, if it continues, that'd be great, but that's a big if from what we saw. And that's fair, Kelsey, to continue to be pessimistic or cautiously optimistic. I'm not sure what you consider it. Beepity Bop says giving the defense a chance to breathe also goes to show the potential they have. Some sacks, pass breakups, big run stops. Absolutely. Absolutely. James Green, who's a VIP member, says, yes, he will DR4 or DRP4. What did DRP4 have to say? He will or die trying. I think he's talking about Rich Rod fixing it. Another super chat. This one from Appalachia Africa Twin. Thank you, sir. He says, share at Couz's Corner videos with all your football friends and push Couz over 10,000 subs. Let's get it done as WVU and at Couz's Corner fans. Hit the thumbs up button. Thank you, Appalachia Africa Twin, for that super chat. And yes, last I checked, I was 37 away from 10,000. It's been a slow – once I got to like 9,900, man, it's been like a slow walk to get to 10,000. So help me get there. Push me over the edge. Thank you so much, Appalachia Africa Twin, for the super chat. Note, YouTube didn't give me notification. Yeah, Daniel, that happens sometimes, unfortunately, man. I'm not sure why. I'm assuming you have your notifications on your device on and on YouTube on. Both of those are necessary, but even with that, sometimes it just doesn't work, man. YouTube can be finicky at times. If Fox is what we're doing at QB, go zone blocking and let him run the ball. If he's able to. Now, with that knee problem now, is he going to be able to run the ball? That's the problem. Anyone else just happy it was respectable? I don't think I could take another butt whooping at home on homecoming. Kelsey, absolutely, man. I don't know if you hear in the beginning, but I almost don't even feel like the team lost the game tonight. I'm actually happy with the performance. I know that's hard to imagine after a loss, but because I normally wouldn't feel that way, but because of where this team is, the struggles we've seen from them, man, it's a moral victory for me. And I know teams don't like moral victories. I know coaches and players don't, but man, as a fan right now, it's a moral victory. They put on a good show in front of their home crowd. They were respectable on that. Even the announcers were talking. You could tell the announcers were not expecting West Virginia to play that competitive tonight. You could tell by the way they were calling the game. And they were actually talking West Virginia up a lot tonight because of the fight they showed, because of the respectable performance, and the way that TCU was in a football game, and they knew it. They had to milk 6 minutes off the clock because they knew they was like, man, if we don't milk this clock, we keep letting him hang around, they could end up winning this game. So they knew that was their best chance of winning. And unfortunately, West Virginia was not able to shut the run game down enough late to get off the field and give their offense one more chance. Kelsey says, I mean, it's not a win, but it's close enough for the way this year's went. Absolutely. WVU Fan 13 says he agrees with Kelsey. At least we looked respectable. Another 35-point loss will be rough. And you know what? I actually considered. Never in my life have I bet against West Virginia, but I actually considered taking TCU in the points in this game because of the way the preview. And I thought, man, if West Virginia is going to get thumped, at least I win some money. But I didn't, and boy, am I glad I didn't, because I would have lost because they did not cover. Mountaineer Mama in the house says, I am happy with the team's performance. There's a glimmer of hope for the future, and that's what we're talking. That's what we're looking at. We're looking at we're at the point in the season now. We're looking for the future. And listen to some of the young players that stepped up tonight. We saw, now Dior Hubbard only had 42 yards rushing, but he did make some plays tonight. He showed some glimpses. I thought Sincere Bauer showed a little bit in his few opportunities. We saw Clay Ash with a nice run. We saw Cam Vaughn show out again tonight. We saw freshman quarterback Scotty Fox show out tonight. We saw Curtis Jones play well. We saw Nick Taylor made some plays on the defense tonight. We saw some young players step up and make plays tonight. And I was happy to see that because that's what Nate Gabriel on the defensive front made some plays. We saw some young O-linemen underclassmen O-linemen in the game tonight making some blocks. I'm happy to see that. That's how you build for the future. And if you're going to be able to play this well with those young guys getting more snaps, keep playing them all year, man. Keep playing them all year, and that way, if you're able to hold on to them, if you're able to retain them in the offseason, then you have a foundation for 2026. Then all you have to do is go to the portal and fill some holes, bring in some more speed. We do need more speed on the roster. You go out and get some speed. Hopefully some of the freshmen you have coming in have speed. Hopefully you have but at least you have a foundation to build on. Guys who have been in your system for a year. That's what they need. And that's how you start you can be where TCU's at. They were talking tonight about how TCU's building from the high school ranks. They're just having to go out into the portal and fill pieces. They only brought in 17 transfers. That's almost unheard of in today's landscape. That's where West Virginia needs to be at in a couple years. The Cole Rush unis were fire. Absolutely, Luke Armacost. You hit the nail on the head. Houston up 17-0 versus Arizona State without Sam Levitt, QB, and Jordan Tyson best. They're both out, Daniel. Holy cow. That's bad for Arizona State. Shane V says, we will end at 3-9. We are going to wreck the Big 12 representing in the CFP. Texas Tech wins out sitting at a 5 to 6 seed until they play us, and we will beat them. Wouldn't that be something? That'd be a great way to end the season, would it not? To knock off a Texas Tech team? I'd love it. Not that I dislike Texas Tech, but I'm obviously a West Virginia fan first. Chris Kasdorf, Fox handed off on every run option. Look at the holes he had on the tape. Let the fox loose. Now, Chris, was that early in the game or after he got injured? Because that might make a difference too. And keep in mind, I noticed one time he did have a decent run. I noticed he dove on the ground before he got hit. I would imagine the coaches instructed him, look, man, don't take too many hits. We don't have a ton of quarterbacks left. You need to protect yourself. I would imagine he was probably given orders not to. They probably didn't want him running the ball a ton tonight, I would imagine, because they can't afford to get him hurt. Then you're going to start playing your walk-ons at some point, right? You don't want that. No offense to the walk-ons. I would imagine they don't want him getting a bunch of hits. Raven says she has no words. Crowd was loud. Pit game was louder at the end, but still was loud. Kelsey says he thinks WVU will spend some money this offseason and try and get another QB. If I'm being honest, I don't think Scotty Fox Jr. will be enough for WVU in the future, but we will see. That's fair, Kelsey. I'm not sure I share that opinion. I still don't think he's ready to be a full-time Power 4 starter, but he could be potentially if he starts the rest of the season. And he has, what would he have at that point? 6 games of starting under his belt? And let's see what he looks like by the end of the year, if that's the case. If he can stay healthy, let's see how he plays the rest of the season, and then let's form an opinion. I still think he's going to go out and get a quarterback because we're losing. We might be losing Nico. We might be losing Jalen Henderson. They're going to have to go out and get maybe, I don't know. You think they'd want to go out and get at least one quarterback out of the portal. I know they recruited a couple high school kids. Plus, you've got Fox and Wilkins if they stay around, but you need at least 5 to 6 quarterbacks. 5, in my opinion. You probably want at least 5 quarterbacks on scholarship on your roster. And now we see why, right? Injuries. John Kelly says TCU was a really good football team. We represented the state well tonight. WV Knife Enthusiast says we showed grit and heart tonight. I feel for our players. Daniel says both are out and both could be done. That is terrible. Did they get hurt in that game, Daniel, or did they get hurt before? I knew Sam Levitt had been dealing with some injury issues, but I thought he came back last week. Raven says we did better than I thought we'd do, but still a struggle. Yeah, Raven, it was definitely still a struggle, but, I mean, every game in the Big 12 is a struggle. They struggled to run the football for sure, and it definitely didn't look easy. But how about them passing the football down the field, right? That's what we got to look at. 301 yards through the air in this season, but they only had 42 on the ground. So, again, they were still one-dimensional, as I mentioned earlier, but they were one-dimensional throwing it tonight. Luke says, I say let Fox start every game, and by the end of the year, we will know either way. Absolutely. I agree, Luke. But he is passing the eye test better than any of the others. Levitt looking slow. Is he back in the game? I'm confused. Oh, hobbling very badly and looking slow. Okay, I see. John Kelly says also giving a shout-out to WVU basketball for their exhibition game tomorrow against Wheeling at 4. Cannot wait to see that team play. I'm really excited about basketball season, as are many of you, I'm sure. Dude is in a – Dustin says Rich Rod is in a no-shit-taking mood. Listen, he hates to lose, and I'm sure he doesn't feel moral victories. He's a coach. He wants the team to win games. So I'm sure he's not happy tonight because he felt like that was a game they should have won. And they had opportunities. I mean, the strip, the fumble at the end, the onside kick, I felt like there was a call or two that didn't go their way in the game. So I don't blame him. I look forward to hearing it as well as soon as I get off of here. Ravens saw some positive changes. I'm all for the pass game. Absolutely. Justin Ayersman in the house says Scotty has to stop underthrowing those receivers. Missed a few opportunities tonight downfield. Absolutely, Justin. A couple throws to Cam Vaughn. I'm sure he'd love to have back that he overthrew. Josh Leggett, thank you for becoming a channel member here at Couz's Corner. Thank you for joining the VIP club. For that, sir. Daniel says there was 2 PIs that were not called. I agree with that too. That one late especially. I think it was in the end zone. I believe it was in the end zone or close to the end zone at the end where our receiver was coming back for the ball. I don't remember if it was Vaughn or somebody else. They were coming back for the ball, The TCU receiver did not even turn around and attempt for the ball and got in his way. Should have been a PI call. Absolutely. And West Virginia would have had the ball deep in TCU territory. It could have been a much different football game. WV Knife Enthusiast says, can't help but wonder if we still had Jaheim for a game like tonight. Exactly. Well, listen, I'm going to call it a night. I've been on 45 minutes. I'm going to go listen to the post-game pressers and some of the other podcast shows tonight. I appreciate you all hopping on here with me. I love getting on here and ranting with you all and or celebrating, depending on how the games go, obviously. Hopefully next time I'll have my towel in the background fixed. But anyway, thank you all for hopping on. Thanks to those of you who gave super chats, and just thanks to those of you who are not able to but still join the chat. Please hit the thumbs up button. That goes a long way in helping us as well. These comments go a long way. You got WVU Fan 13 with another super chat. Thank you, sir. He says WVU looked sharp against TCU tonight, and I almost asked Siri what year it was. Yeah. What year did it look like? West Virginia, actually, I didn't realize this. I think West Virginia in the last several years West Virginia rather, leads the series over TCU. I didn't realize that. Nancy Hodges says, win or lose, all I ask for is to just compete, play hard, and see how it plays out. Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you all for the support. Please hit the thumbs up button on your way out if you haven't yet. If you're watching this on the replay, hit the thumbs up button. I did forget to shout out my sponsor. I need to do that real quick. I don't need to do it. It's too late in the show now. It's all right. It's all good. Thank you all. Shout out to Appalachia Digital, the ones who designed the website over at wvsportschat.com. If you need a website designed, that's who you go to. Also, thanks to DraftKings Sportsbook for supporting us here on the show as well. Thanks to Rogue Sports Network for allowing me to be a part of their family. Thanks for joining the show tonight, y'all. Have a top shelf night or top shelf day if you're watching this on the playback. God bless you. And even though West Virginia lost, I will always end with this. Q Country Roads.